when you're the owner, you have to take ownership. Whenever problems do occur, you have to take a step back and try and evaluate them, identify the root of the problem, whatever that is. And again, it takes time. Business takes time. As far as I'm concerned, there's no get rich quick scheme out there or be successful overnight. It takes decades to build those businesses. And so you have to build your clientele and your customer base. And you do that through being consistent and being reliable and serving that need.
What would be the first business that you would start tomorrow?
I would probably do something.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we can discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and in self. Today, we have the owner of Yampa Sandwich Co., Pete Boniface. With 8 locations across Colorado, Pete has been supporting the locals of Colorado with food that pushes you to go out and explore. Excited to talk with Pete about his history of building his business and how he went from 1 location to 8 with his unique franchise model. Thank you, Pete, for joining us today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. And you got an exciting story. We started to get a little background before we started about how isolated your initial location was and how you wanted to spread this goodwill and ideology of what you're doing with your business to other locations and really branch out your sandwiches, your food, and your ideology of business. So can you give us a little background of how this all came to be, especially the first location, and then how you expanded this basically all across Colorado?
Sure. So my business partner, Dave, and I, we went to high school together. And we felt that there was a gap in the market here in Steamboat Springs where nobody was really providing a good lunch. There's a lot of guide services and professional outdoor guide services, whatnot out there. And so our initial idea was, hey, let's provide a quality lunch for these guide services, sort of picnic style lunch. So we opened up in 1999. To great success and really well received because we were providing a great product, which was not available in this valley. So that was how we started. Steamboat Springs, it's a resort town, and there's a world-class ski area here as well. So people come from all over the country, all over the region to ski and steamboat. And as we built up our customer base, everybody was just like, hey, this would be great in whatever, my town, this town, that town. Anyhow, we eventually opened up in Jackson, Wyoming, a few years after we initially opened in Steamboat, and it took off again there to great success, providing lunches to river rafters, rock climbing, exim guides, backcountry ski guides, whoever, you name it. We were hitting up all those clients. Then we opened 2 years later in Fort Collins, Colorado. It's a college town. Colorado State University is there. It's more of a sort of metro area, larger town. Steamboat, Jackson, Wyoming, towns of 10,000 people. Fort Collins, town of probably 100,000 people. And so, we thought it would have been a slam dunk, just like it had been, and it wasn't. So there was some confusion with our brand, which was originally called Backcountry Delicatessen. So people were calling, looking to rent snowshoes, things like that. And our marketing didn't work in a much more sprawling, less concentrated area. So it took us a couple of years to figure out how to really identify our clientele in that market and get our brand out there and show people what we could do. And that was a big challenge. It was a really, really tough go at first. But we went through a rebrand, found that our menu and our system and everything really applied well to office lunches, just like it did to the guide services. And so, we started catering a lot of office lunches, things like that, changed up our packaging, new website, online ordering systems, that type of stuff. And, went to the Denver market, and it's been really well received down there. So we sort of ironed things out with that sea trial in Fort Collins. So yeah, so it's going great. We have a great product. We're all about trying to serve the best quality, most natural product we can that makes people feel good. And when we first started, we were about, well, hey, we need to have a product that's action food that people can eat and feel good, eat it and go for a bike ride, not be weighed down and not ready to go. So it's a great lunch to take in the trail, and you eat it on the trail, and you can keep on moving. You're not weighed down. And so that lends itself really well to an office lunch as well, where people don't want to eat their lunch and then have to suffer through the afternoon feeling like they're going to fall asleep at their desk.
Pete, what an incredible story. I mean, almost 30 years of progression of it. And then this switch in the avatar. And understand, I mean, obviously you guys felt and understood your avatar with the first few locations, with the traveling consumers, the people that were going backpacking, the people that were going hiking out there, and it resonated with them well. But then you hit that new demographic profile and the opportunity for you to switch and adjust. Talk to me through that process. Was that a painstaking process? Was you having a lot of difficulties internally, or was it really just identifying the right consumer in the area and realizing the avatar was different?
It was about identifying the consumer in the area. And a lot of our marketing had been linking up with youth groups and sponsoring youth groups and getting to know the community. We want to be a value-added business for each community that we go into. And so in a town like Steamboat or Jackson, Wyoming, really small town, you go and you sponsor the youth cycling group or the soccer team or whatever, and boom, their parents like, hey, this is really great food, and they start to come in and they appreciate the support that you have with their community. But in a more sprawling metro area, you really have to focus on the mile around your store, or even a tighter area, because we would go in Fort Collins initially and sponsor the bike race in the evening and the kids bike race or whatever, and the parents are like, oh yeah, love the food, it's great, but I work in Loveland, or I work in Denver or Greeley, so they're not going to come in for lunch even though they live there in Fort Collins. So we really had to be like, okay, well, who's right around us, who's near us and could use our service, and really target those people. And then just coming up with the adjustment in branding and packaging, that to make our product really lend itself to the office lunch. And that was a big change. But in doing so, it really transformed our business. And through the whole COVID thing, we were already set up to really be, our whole business was based around taking your food to go. When the whole COVID thing, we were already really well positioned. And so that's where I would say our business really made a lot of growth during that time, because we were already, we looked really smart, but it wasn't necessarily that we had planned on a global pandemic. So
yeah, hard to plan for that one, right? For the listeners out there, understand, the trials and tribulations that Peter had to go through here, and the malleability that they have. I always use the example of Amazon, starting off as a company that was focused on selling books and ended up being the largest e-commerce business in existence. That comes from the ability to pivot and to change. And if you would have stayed to your business model and would have said, no, we're going after these traveling consumers, we know our avatar, we know our business, what do you think would have happened to the company?
Well, I mean, that store in Fort Collins never would have made it. I mean, right now it's a thriving location because we switched things up, and then we grew from there. So that pivot really was a launch pad for our growth in the metro areas, and making us a more versatile concept.
I think it's a huge learning.
It would fold. You would fold. I mean, you have to have a consumer base. You're looking to pay rent, make payroll. You got to be turning them. You got to have a dedicated customer base, and repeat customers. It's all about building community is really what it's about, and having people trust you, appreciate your product, and want to do business with you. I mean, that's business 101. So, and understanding, keep it really simple.
Yeah. And understanding the community, right? The adjustment in the community. And that's, a huge learning lesson for the entrepreneurs. If you're a restaurant owner or not, huge lesson for you there when it comes to it was the ability to understand the audience profile, understand what was the problem that was happening in the business, and then to be humble enough to take the back seat and say, we need to change and we need to adjust, and look at the position it created for you. Not only did it open up huge opportunities in the locations that were underperforming, but also positioned you perfectly. I always say, as a business owner, stress is what makes makes us great, especially if we can overachieve the stress, if we can figure out how to move past it, because stress is just fractures in our business that we need to fix. And you saw that fracture of being in a metro area, and that opened you up for online ordering, which grew you during COVID, and incredible. I'm skipping ahead on a few of these questions here, but what's the plan for the future for Yampa? Are you looking to open more locations? Are you looking to develop further? What does it look like now that you've had this model of what it looks like for non-metro areas and metro areas and found success in both?
Well, I think our concept is one that would work in a lot of different areas. And so we certainly target locations that we would love to find something in. And so we have a real estate guy out there who's searching for locations for us that'll work in our business model. With that said, we're trying to grow our average unit volumes to a level where we can be more successful. Colorado's really expensive. It's hard to find locations that fit within our business model. And so to keep our price, our price point where we want to have it, it's a tough go right now. And so with that, we have to be disciplined and make sure that we're not going into deals that are going to be tough to overcome. Because if you're always trying to pay the rent, or you're in a weak location because you got excited, you're going to always be working to overcome that. So really being disciplined about your growth, and not just growing for growth's sake, but growing because you know that a location is going to work with your business model, and the community is going to support it. That's what we have to look at. So as far as like getting our average unit volumes up, we're approaching that from a number of angles. One, a little bit of menu simplification. We don't want to oversimplify and dumb it down too much, because right now we feel like there's something there for everyone, and we want to keep it interesting and craveable, but there's definitely some opportunity to make the system a little easier for our teams to produce, so that they can produce quicker, faster, have more throughput during those peak hours. But also we're looking to grow into the dinner business and get that third day part, which is something that we tried in the past, not to great success, but now we're seeing a lot of growth in third party ordering, DoorDash, Uber Eats, you name it, they're all out there. And we're seeing a lot of growth with those platforms. And so we think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity there for dinner through those third-party platforms. So staying open later. And we don't have to do a lot of numbers to support that, but it could have massive impact on our system. So that's what we're targeting right now. So we're gonna do those two things, simplify the menu, stay open later, try and capture that dinner business, and with that we should see quite a bit of growth. And then of course always keeping our eyes open for new locations to go into.
Clear game plan, clear understanding of where your opportunities are, clear structure and ideology of what you want to do to be successful, and then even the experience in the back end of what has gone wrong in the past and being able to optimize that. I love that, but I would like to take a step back and talk about, I normally ask the question of who's your ideal customer, but we've already identified that you have two different ideal customers depending if it's a metro area or a non-metro area. My question to you, Peter, is did you structure completely different advertising from location to location to resonate with that consumer base, like a different look, or is it really the messaging that changed? Like what was the adjustment that you need to make? Because you said before you did a lot of guerrilla style marketing where you're going out, you're directly connecting with different groups. How did that approach change? And if you're looking at it today between the metro and the non-metro areas?
Right. Well, our customer is really the same person, whether they're in the metro area or they're vacationing here in Steamboat. I mean, we have a great local base in Steamboat, but the people we're targeting are people that appreciate higher end, healthier food. And so that's the person that we're looking for. And, with that, it's just how they're going to use the food that changes, but that person's the same person. So I can be working the Steamboat store. People come in and they're just, hey, how's it going today? Thanks for coming in. What's going on? They're like, we go to your store in downtown Denver all the time, or we go to the South Fort Collins store all the time. So we're finding that people appreciate the quality and how they feel with the food. It's craveable. They want to have what they are accustomed to, and they're happy to pay. That's who we're looking for. As far as as the marketing goes, I think that it really looks the same in both places, but we're looking for that person that wants the higher quality, healthier food.
So the avatar stayed consistent. It was just the geographical targeting that you really need to focus on. You're a little bit wider than non-metro areas, more honed in on the metro areas. If you said advice, and for restaurant owners, especially franchise owners out there, it's a golden nugget that you need to keep in mind as you're doing meta advertising, Google ads. You got to understand the geographical area that you're targeting is a huge factor in the success. And we've seen that today. We've seen that every day with the clients that we work with. You know, if we're in New York City and we're trying to do a 10-mile radius, you're talking about an hour drive.
Nobody's going to come. They're going to go to the one that's in their neighborhood, the options that are in their neighborhood. And so that's what you have to target for sure.
Exactly. And really breaking that down. I love that. I want to dive into a little bit. You know, you obviously you have a raving consumer base. You say that it's very craveable food, and that means you have a great return customer rate, which people are loving the food. Dive into me if someone's hearing about your business for the first time today. Can you dive into some of the uniqueness that you have in the company? Why someone craves your food? Why they continue to come back? Obviously, it's healthy. You mentioned that before. It's fast serve. It's able to keep you up and fit throughout the day and not kind of bog you down and still have great flavor. But is there anything else you would like to identify for a consumer listening to this and maybe they're in the Colorado area and they're thinking about trying your food?
I think, again, going back to the unique menu, we have a number of things that you can't get anywhere else. A lot of the recipes are family recipes, so they're very unique to us. But again, just trying to serve the most natural and clean and high quality food that you can, customers can taste the difference. But as well, it's about the experience too, and the experience that the customer has when they come into our stores. And so we spend a lot of time trying to coach our teams to really connect with everyone that comes in and get to know their customers. And that should be some part of the fun of the business, is getting to know your community and caring about your community and what you serve them. And so that authenticity and connection with the community is what makes us unique, I would say.
If you guys have listened to any of our previous podcasts, especially the last few recent ones with other restaurant owners, you'll hear them talk about culture, the internal culture that they develop within their teams and the communication they have with the team. Peter here has taken that to a whole nother level. He just touched on it a little bit when it comes to developing a culture inside that allows the customer when they walk in to be more engaging. And looking at their website, if you guys get a chance to check out yampasandwichco.com, their website's beautiful. Some of this food here, it's about lunchtime for me. I'm getting starved. The Summit, the Philly roast pork sandwiches, these are really, really well done. But the biggest thing that Peter has mentioned here that we haven't heard on the previous podcast is the community engagement that he has, the culture that he's developing, not just internally, but externally with this business, and ensuring that the way that he represents his business and the way he wants to represent life, which is helping the community, developing high quality foods and keeping people on the go to be excited, be entertained, and still be able to go throughout your day with a full stomach, is resonating not just internal to his location, but also external. Is there any advice that you would have, Peter, for other restaurant owners that are trying to be better connected with their community? Is there a way to start this? Is there a good direction to go? What recommendations would you give?
I'd recommend just being authentic. Whoever you are, go and connect with whoever you want your community to be, and really be a value added business to that community. So that's what's really important. I mean, everything in life is a balance. And so you can't just take, you have to give as well and be a part of that community. And so, that would be my recommendation. If you want to be successful, you need to have people trust you and understand that you're there to help, not just take.
Authenticity. I love that. That was the first, immediately came out of your mouth, because it's true. There's so many businesses now, especially in the day of social media, where we can really see everything about companies, right? If they try to hide something, it just doesn't work out in 2025 and beyond. But the authenticity of resonating with the consumer base that you already want to connect with. We all start businesses because there's a problem that we want to solve for a certain consumer base out there, and going out there and touching them hand in hand and doing what we consider guerrilla style marketing, where you're actually connecting with these groups in person and engaging them in the right way, and being, as you said, a value first company, trying to be authentic and trying to be open and support the local community. That's awesome. I got to ask you, you're obviously well ingrained. You even mentioned that you'd be at the restaurant location yourself. So you're well ingrained into this business. You're constantly trying to grow it. You're developing it. We talked about where you want to see the individual business grow and then where you want it to go. Where do you see the restaurant industry growing? Obviously, we had a huge shift after COVID, right? A lot of things went digital. Uber Eats, Grubhub, they really took off, and a lot of people were doing more online ordering than they were in the past. I feel like as of recent, probably from the last 6 to 7 months, there's been a lot more consumer engagement at the physical locations. People are trying to find things to do now and always trying to get better connected to communities. But what do you see happening in the Colorado area when it comes to the evolution of hospitality or the restaurant industry? Can you make any predictions?
Well, I mean, of course, there's so much happening with technology and ordering platforms, both online and in-store kiosks and whatnot. And so, those are all things that you look at. The labor market is really tight right now. Labor is expensive, and good quality people, nice people that are authentic people and want to be part of your brand are harder and harder to find. So trying to have production be optimal per person is really tough right now as far as the business model goes. And that's where things, these online platforms and stuff, you realize, well, if people are ordering online and it's just spitting the tickets out of the machine, I don't need someone to answer the phone anymore. And if you get a kiosk, then people can order at the kiosk, and then you don't need that kiosk is going to show up every day, whereas as someone to work the register is not always going to be, and not going to do it properly every day if you don't have proper training. But I think that the consumer craves the personal interaction. Just going back to business 101, people like to do business with people that they trust and people that they like. And so we as a business want to always have that connection with our customers, and really connect with them on a personal level and be proactive about our interaction with our customers, not reactive. So as far as trends go, everything is going, it's becoming less and less personal. And where's the hospitality in that if it's all technology? So we're trying to strike that balance and leverage the technology and have it make us a healthier, more robust business, but as well not lose that connection with our customers. And that's a tough line to toe right now. But it's it's exciting.
Yeah, so you're not going to be seeing any robots at your locations then serving sandwiches and
No, we're not going to have robots serving sandwiches.
yeah, I've been seeing the videos of robots serving sushi, and I'm like, yeah, that's great if the sushi is top notch and I'm paying half the price for it. But the overall, like we mentioned before, the overall culture that's developed inside of every business, it resonates with every consumer that walks through the front door. And Peter here, with his 8 locations across Colorado, is trying to represent not only the high quality food, not only a good ambiance for you to enjoy your time, and also an ability to help the community, but also be able to give back and make sure that when you do come in to get a good sandwich, that you feel great, not by just the quality of the food, but by the experience that you had between his doors. So, right, I absolutely love
our experience.
100%.
It's important.
100%. I got to ask you, right, with the 8 locations, you're obviously a very successful entrepreneur, and you've built through this program. You've mentioned one strong hurdle that you've had to go through where you had to pivot your branding in the positioning of your business. But do you have any trials or tribulations, maybe a lesson that you've learned throughout these last almost 30 years of running this business that you'd like to share with the listeners here? Some advice or maybe a story of something that happened to you that changed your mindset of how to look at your business?
I think ultimately you have to show up. That's what it comes down to. When you're the owner, you have to take ownership in whatever happens. But whenever problems do occur, you have to take a step back and try and evaluate them and first off identify the root of the problem, whatever that is. For instance, that store in Fort Collins that we expected it to take off right away because there was more density, more people around, open up in a great location. Well, why aren't people walking through the door? Well, let's evaluate that. How come? Well, I think there's a hurdle there in them identifying who we are and what we do. And we're also trying to market to people that are actually not going to come through our door because physically they're not around at that moment. We're reaching too far out of our market. So let's focus on our geographic area. So again, it's taking that step back. Why is it not happening? What do we need to change? And it certainly wasn't the product, but it was the messaging and having people understand what we you do. And again, it takes time. Business takes time. It's not, there's no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no get rich quick scheme out there, or be successful overnight. Even these behemoth companies like Amazon. I mean, obviously they're a lot smarter than I am, but it takes decades to build those businesses. And so you have to build your clientele and your customer base. And you do that through being consistent and being reliable and serving that need, and having them trust you then. So it comes down to trust, consumer trust. So
Love that. So being there, always being aware and being a part of the business, being actual with the data and understanding what's working, what's not working, being able to take that step back and seeing it with new eyes to figure out problems. And then really just the structure of not quitting and continuing to move forward. I mean, it's the foundation of a successful entrepreneur, but you've taken it to a whole different level. I mean, most businesses in your category fail within the first 5 years. I believe, pretty sure for restaurants, it's about an 87% failure rate in the first 5 years. And with 8 locations strong and almost 30 years underneath your belt, you're absolutely crushing it. Have you ever heard the term Kaizen?
I have heard the term Kaizen.
Awesome. So for the listeners out there, if you haven't heard it before, Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% progression every single day in both business and itself. Peter, my question to you is, how do you find your Kaizen? How are you constantly staying on top of these trends and building your locations, building yourself through the process? Do you have a morning routine? Do you have a practice? What are you doing to always improve yourself day in and day out?
Spend a lot of time and work really hard at it, but also, again, it goes to taking a step back and trying not to do too much, because I definitely realized that doing less can be doing more at times, because the Kaizen theory, 1% every day, well, you're building, it's compounding on itself. So just be happy with doing something positive every day. And that's that 1%. And it's going to compound on itself over time, but just continue to move forward and continue to make positive moves every day. I do have a personal daily practice. I spend time on myself, physically and mentally, trying to be sharp and trying to be relaxed and fluid rather than uptight, not present, always running to do the next thing. Just, realize where you are right now and that you're doing something at this moment that's going to have impact down the road, and being satisfied with that and not always chasing the next thing. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, business is really simple, and it comes down to execution and doing a good job and not being scattered, being focused, and taking care of things one thing at a time.
I saw that. Okay, I got one more bonus question for you, because I'm very direct here.
Bonus question. Let's do
Bonus. You've been doing this, for a long time, so I'm curious where your mind goes with this one. Have you ever heard of the book Atlas Shrugs?
I have. I have not read Atlas Shrugs, though.
I don't recommend it. Yeah, I don't recommend it. Massive book, and only the concept is really strong, but the storyline behind it gets a little crazy. But for the listeners out there, and for you, Peter, the concept behind Atlas Shrugs is that us as business owners, you an entrepreneur, the people listening to this, to me, we move the world forward by putting the pressure of business and operations on our shoulders, putting our employees' efforts on our shoulders, putting the world's difficulties and problems on our shoulders, and creating businesses that change the world to move forward. The book Atlas Shrugs talks about what would happen to the world if all of us business owners just shrugged it off, if we all walked away from our companies completely. So my question to you, Peter, if today Atlas Shrugged, you walked away from your company, I walked away from mine, everyone listening to this, they walked away from their company, the infrastructure is still there, the home improvement materials are out there, your restaurants still exist, but just no businesses are actually functioning. If that would happen today, Peter, what would be the first business that you would start tomorrow?
What would be the first business I would start tomorrow? I love the hospitality industry, and that's what I'm in with sandwiches, but I would probably do something a little different, some sort of like a bed and breakfast type thing, just because that's my passion, getting to meet people, showcasing my skills, and showing people a good time.
I love that. And still, I could guarantee if you had that bed and breakfast, it'd be high quality food that people could still go and eat and explore it.
Yeah, you're the best. I just don't have time for it right now. So yeah.
Too busy building these Yampa locations. I love it.
Nor is that necessarily what I'm ever going to do or
Yep.
want to do. But if I had to make that choice, if I walked away and I had to make that choice right now, that's probably what I think I could do really
So
well.
it shined right through in this podcast of how much you truly care about the local community, how much you care about giving quality and making sure that you serve people and give that service first ideology of you're out there to help people, you're out there to help the community, you're there to build a product that has high quality, has a good ambiance, has good connection to your customers, and it's radiated through this whole podcast that you truly do care about the local people and the people.
We're not just in the sandwich business. We're in the life enhancement business, right? So back to your Kaizen, I tell all our teams, essentially we're in the manufacturing business. We manufacture a lunch that we give to somebody and they take it off but you have the ability to be the waiter, the cook, the whole thing, and you get to see that satisfaction right away from that person and in serving them a great product that they're really psyched on at their lunch. They could then go back to work and have a career changing afternoon because they were, you changed their day with that lunch, or they go home and they're a better spouse or a better coach or a better person because of it. So it's that, it's that little thing that you're doing. You're not just serving them a sandwich, you're actually having an impact on their day and changing the world around you. So
I love that.
and be psyched on it.
For the listeners out there that are in the Colorado area, if you're looking to change your day for better and try one of these amazing sandwiches, they have some soups and salads as well. You can check out their website. It is, I just had it pulled up. Peter, you want to give us a breakdown of how these people connect with you? Where's your locations or on a letter?
YampaSandwichCompany.com. It's got all the locations on it. You can order online or, feel free to give us a call. So yeah, we have 5 locations in the Denver metro area, 2 in Fort Collins, and the original one up here in Steamboat Springs, which there's a good chance you'll find me there still washing dishes and servicing the good people at Steamboat. So
Dude, if you're washing dishes, you're in the grind. I love that. I absolutely love that. That website link is going to be found below in the description, guys. If you finish this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Peter, thank you so much for your time. I think you've built something absolutely incredible here, and your mission and vision of helping the local community and giving that value first radiated throughout this whole thing. I know when I travel to Colorado, we talked a little bit before this, I don't go there enough, but the next time I'm there, I'm going to search out one of your locations and try one of these sandwiches because I got hungry just looking at the menu. But really
do it. You're gonna have a great time. You won't be disappointed.
Awesome. But appreciate you, Peter. Thank you so much. And for the listeners, we'll see you on the next one.